The first method we have for displaying data is going to be frequency tables. Now, the reason frequency tables are so useful is they can be used with quantitative or categorical variables. So, frequency tables consist of 4 different columns. The first column is for observations. This is the things people tell us. This could be the number, this could be the color of your eyes. So, your observation goes on the left. Then the count, that's also called the frequency, how many times people give us those answers, proportion, and then percentage. Notice we have totals down at the bottom as well, and we'll talk about kind of how we find those. Now, to begin here, notice that we're looking, first of all, for people who told us that they ate out 1 time per week. And so to get the count for that, all we're going to do is we're going to come up to the top here and count how many people told us 1. So if you look up here, there are, I believe, 5 ones. So the count for 1 will be 5. Now, at this point, I want you to go ahead and pause it and fill in the count for each of the rest of them. Now, hopefully we've gone ahead and gotten the same numbers here. So you have 5 ones. I found I have 11 twos. I have 8 threes. I have 3 fours, 1 6, and 2 tens. And the reason we have the total at the bottom there is because now we need to know how many total people answered us. That is, in this calculus class, how many people did we have? To get that, we just go ahead and add down. So 5 plus 11 plus 8 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2. And I believe we have a total of 30 different people. Now that's important because the next thing we want to do is calculate the proportion. That is, yeah, it's awesome that 5 people ate out once, but really, is 5 a big number? Is it a small number? That is, how big is 5 with respect to the entire class size? This is what proportion tells us. It's also called the relative frequency. That is, how frequent it is relative to the overall sample size. To find the proportion, we just take the count and divide it by the total. So this is 5 out of 30 people told us that answer. Proportion for the next one would be 11 out of 30, 8 out of 30, 3 out of 30, 1 out of 30, and 2 out of 30. Now the key here is that the proportion should add up to 1. That is, if I take 5 over 30 plus 11 out of 30 plus 8 out of 30 and so forth, this should add up to 1. Now, a lot of times when we do proportions, we don't want to give it in fraction form, but actually in decimal form. And so if I wanted to do that, I could go ahead and take this 5 and divide it by 30. Take the 11, divide by 30, the 8 divide by 30, the 3 divide by 30, and so forth. And instead of writing the actual decimal there, the actual fraction there, I could write the decimal instead. So for instance, if I take 5 divided by 30, it's going to be 0.166. And for proportions, we're always going to keep 4 decimal places, so I would round that last 6 to a 7. Here I could write 0.3667, 0.2667.1, it's kind of a nice one, 0.0333, and 0.0667 there. And once again, the only thing I did to get those proportions in that form is take 5 divided by 30, or 11 divided by 30, or 8 divided by 30. So actually just convert it to a decimal. Now the reason this is useful is because the next thing we want to do is find the percentage. And to convert a proportion to a percent, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the proportion and multiply it by 100. And so that's why that decimal is useful. So I'll take 0.1667, convert it to a percent, 16.67%. 36.67%, and so forth. Now, ideally, these percentages should add up to 100. I want to be clear, though, sometimes these aren't going to add up so nicely. That is, the proportion might add up to like 0.99, or the percentage might add up to 99.97%. It's just going to do a lot with our rounding. So it's okay if it doesn't add up perfectly, but this is our general form for a frequency table.